The future of France's armored forces is entering a decisive period, and within that transition, the role of the VBCI has become an increasingly relevant question. For more than 15 years, the VBCI has been the backbone of France's wheeled infantry fighting vehicle capability, deployed across operations in the Sahel, used intensively during external missions, and now serving within NATO's reinforced posture in Eastern Europe. As the Armée de Terre moves toward its 2030 force structure, France must determine whether the VBCI remains a central pillar of infantry mobility, or whether it becomes a legacy platform gradually complemented or even substituted by newer systems such as Griffon, Jaguar, or future tracked options under the Scorpion and post-Scorpion frameworks. This decision involves more than simply judging performance. It touches the entire ecosystem of French land power, industrial capacity, alliance commitments, and operational lessons drawn from the conflict in Eastern Europe. From an operational standpoint, the VBCI remains a proven vehicle. It offers a balance of mobility, protection, and firepower that has served French forces well. The wheeled configuration enables rapid deployment over long distances, lower maintenance demands, and better suitability for stabilization operations, which dominated French military engagements for years. Veterans of Operation Barkhane repeatedly noted that the VBCI's mobility, internal space, and operational comfort provided clear advantages over tracked equivalents in a theater dominated by long-range patrols. Yet the strategic environment of 2024 and 2025 has changed dramatically. The return of high-intensity conflict in Europe and the wide use of anti-tank guided missiles, loitering munitions, and advanced surveillance systems have forced all European armies to revisit the survivability of their armored fleets. In this environment, a vehicle like the VBCI must undergo modernization to remain relevant or risk becoming overstretched in missions beyond its original design parameters. This is one reason why France has moved towards a dual approach. Maintain and modernize the existing VBCI fleet while expanding newer Scorpion platforms. The introduction of digital twin technology for maintenance represents a significant step in this direction. By creating a complete virtual replica of the VBCI, KNDS is enabling predictive maintenance, better fault diagnosis, and more efficient lifecycle management. This is not merely a technical improvement, it is part of a wider French effort to stabilize readiness rates across the land forces after years in which maintenance bottlenecks repeatedly affected operational availability. If the VBCI can benefit from lower downtimes, reduced logistical demands, and better reliability through such digital tools, its service life may extend well into the late 2020s or beyond, providing continuity while France evaluates broader procurement options. A second factor shaping the future of the VBCI is industrial. For years, the VBCI saw limited export success, not because the platform was weak, but because global customers sought tracked solutions or preferred larger programs involving multinational partnerships. The recent agreement with Greece has changed the equation. Under the plan, Greece will not only procure refurbished VBCI units from France, but also co-produce the new VBCI Philoctetes variant on Greek soil. For French industry, this proves two important points. First, the VBCI can still compete internationally when offered in a modernized configuration with improved firepower and protection. Second, France can tie its land armor diplomacy to European partnerships, strengthening strategic ties while revitalizing industrial output. A successful production line in Greece could serve as a bridge toward additional European customers seeking high-quality wheeled infantry fighting vehicles without paying the premium associated with tracked platforms. This is also consistent with France's broader strategic posture, reinforcing European defense autonomy while stimulating industrial cooperation. For a French audience, this raises an important question. If the VBCI is gaining renewed traction abroad, should France accelerate its own modernization cycle or instead gradually release part of its fleet to partners? There are arguments in both directions. Some experts argue that France must preserve a strong core of VBCI units because upcoming deployments in Europe may require high numbers of protected mobility platforms. The logic is straightforward. Even if the tracked segment is strengthened, wheeled infantry fighting vehicles remain essential for maneuver, reinforcement, and crisis response missions. In addition, the experience accumulated by French crews and maintenance personnel on VBCI provides a level of tactical maturity that should not be underestimated. Retiring or downsizing too quickly could generate undesirable capability gaps. Others consider that the rise of Griffon and Jaguar, combined with the long-term ambition to explore heavier or hybrid tracked platforms, means that the VBCI's role will naturally diminish. From this perspective, reassigning part of the fleet to export partners while upgrading the remaining vehicles could balance operational needs with industrial and diplomatic opportunities. In this scenario, the VBCI becomes a platform that France continues to operate, but increasingly positions as a European export product rather than the absolute centerpiece of its land forces. Any decision must also take into account the strategic transformations visible on the battlefield. The war in Ukraine has demonstrated the vulnerability of medium-weight armored vehicles against modern anti-tank systems when they operate without integrated air defense and electronic warfare protection. France is actively studying these lessons. If the VBCI is to remain part of the 2030 force, it must evolve alongside new defensive requirements, active protection systems, counter-drone architecture, more powerful sensors, and improved firepower. The Philoctetes variant already points in that direction. But integrating such systems across the existing French fleet will require long-term investment. The question is whether France considers this investment strategic or transitional. A major upgrade path would signal that the VBCI will retain a frontline role. A more selective upgrade path would suggest that France sees the VBCI as a platform to maintain until the arrival of more modern successors in the early to mid-2030s. Public opinion in France does not show strong polarization around the VBCI specifically, but the broader topic of military capability and industrial autonomy has gained attention. The French public largely supports strengthening national defense, particularly in light of global instability, but remains sensitive to budgetary considerations. If the government allocates several billion euro to new armored programs, it will need to articulate their necessity clearly. In this respect, a balanced approach that modernizes the VBCI while advancing next-generation programs may resonate better with both the public and parliamentary oversight bodies. For the Armée de Terre, the ultimate priority is operational credibility. The VBCI has demonstrated that a wheeled infantry fighting vehicle can form the core of a modern expeditionary land force. Whether it remains central in the next decade depends partly on France's strategic self-image. Does the country expect to conduct primarily rapid reaction, crisis management missions, or does it prepare more explicitly for high-intensity conflict within NATO? The likely answer is that France must prepare for both. This mixed requirement explains why the VBCI cannot be dismissed even as the Army pursues heavier and more advanced platforms. As France approaches 2030, the VBCI therefore sits at a crossroads, modern enough to continue serving, flexible enough to adapt, yet mature enough to raise questions about long-term replacement. The coming years will not be defined by a single decision, but by a sequence of adjustments that reflect France's evolving doctrine, industrial diplomacy, and operational engagements. The VBCI is not simply a vehicle, it is a symbol of a period when France embraced mobility, modularity, and technological innovation. Its future will depend on whether those same principles continue to guide French land strategy in a world where the demands on armored forces are growing more complex, more contested, and more technologically driven than at any time in recent decades.